Welcome to the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yantz, and this is episode 88. And I am talking about meditation and life. I'm going to talk about the books I read. I'm going to talk about Silver Linings Playbook. I'm going to talk about the TV show Never. I'm going to talk a little politics, and we'll end with a quote. So stay tuned. So, I just had an amazing session on Mind Valley that, wow, I was learning about merging. And it's something I don't feel comfortable discussing here, but all I can say is Mind Valley Vishen's Becoming Limitless is one of the best courses I've ever taken. And I've learned so much, and he's informed me with all the other courses I've taken. And I've learned a great deal about just how to be myself and how to just let go and let things happen. I've always said that the most important thing is allowing. If we can just allow things to happen. And it seems like, a lot of things in the universe we want to control, and it's much better if we just let things happen. I've been very guilty of trying to come up with a specific goal and making it so specific that it's almost... I'm rendering it. It becomes a means goal, which means it's more hit at an end goal, as opposed to an end goal, which means that it's limitless. It just there's no end to it. It just keeps going. It doesn't mean means goals are bad. It's just sometimes I'm stuck in the means goal mentality. It's like, okay, I want this to get this, to get this, to get this. And it's like, okay, well, what's after that? What's after that? When you get to the end of that, or something that just keeps going on and on, that's kind of where you want to be in the place. And for me, as I said, I keep trying to make it specific. It's like, I want this. Instead of going, I want this. Let's see where that goes. Instead of being so specific. It's very hard to explain this in words, but I feel very compelled to talk about it right now. A lot of things have changed in this past year. I changed my sleeping habits. I thought I was destined to go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning till the end of time. And then I found out about myself, and I found out that I was a bear in the Michael Bruce course, and I found out that no, actually, I need to go to bed. I still go to bed late for most people, but not as late as others. I mean, at 12, I'm pretty much slowing down, and it's been working out perfectly for me. I've been getting up at 9 every day. I always get up at 9 around that time period. If I choose to sleep a little bit later, that's my decision, but I'm in control of my sleep. So a lot of, as I said, a lot of things have just changed in my life. I'm very much in a better place, and it's just because I've continued to work on myself. And I guess the main through line of this would be to work on yourself. If you can continue to work on yourself, that's the best thing you can do for oneself. That sounds like a mouthful. But if yourself, that's the one thing that you can change. You can't change the world. You can't change this. Well, you can change the world. But change yourself so that you can change the world through yourself. These are hard concepts to gather. But my point is, by having faith and not giving up, you can reach that. I mean, I don't know how many times I worked on sleep and just continued to fail, but I was like, something is going to click. Somehow I'm going to figure this out. And I did. And here it is. And now I'm learning about merging. And now I'm learning about so many different things. And I really want to take this podcast in different directions. I really want to start increasing it. I did this for a year. And I wanted to see if I could do it for a year consistently. And I showed I could do that. Now I want to start continuing to move forward. One of the things that I want to do is add, I'm going to add a little theme song. I'm working on a theme song for this. I haven't found it yet, but there will be a nice little theme song at the beginning, and then I think I'm going to end an outro there. Trying to think of different things to make this more appealing to just the average person. But I really, I like where it's going. It's in a nice place. I want to do more interviews. I keep saying that, but I felt like it might not have been right time to do the interviews. And now I'm at that place where I need to be to do interviews. So I'm very blessed where I am right now. And I'm blessed to be doing this podcast. I mean, we live in a world where now I can do a podcast from my house. I don't have to go to a recording studio. If this was 10 years ago, I'd have to go to a recording studio to get even a little bit of this. Now we can just do it at home. I mean, it just shows how far technology has come. So the best thing that I can leave this with is saying that continue to look forward because great things are on the horizon. And I love every single one of you, and I continue to try and find new ways to really delve into things. And it's hard because I'm talking to myself, and I never thought I could do this. I mean, I thought I could do this, but to actually talk as myself for this long without a person to bounce off of has been a real learning process. But I'm getting there, and now I think I'm going to start adding people to it, and I just see this growing and growing and growing. So, as always, I say stay tuned. Let's talk a little bit about some of the books I read this week because I got back on there. I'm back on track. I read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. Now, I've always seen the film and I never read the book. And reading the book, I kind of like the film better. But the book is interesting. It doesn't really have the dimensions that Gene Wilder really brought to Willy Wonka. You know, he kind of just comes off as this eccentric nut in the book. I like that they brought, the squirrel thing. There's no way they could have done that in that time period for the movie. So they had to make the movie different than the book, because there's no way they could, talk about, hey, I gave a truckload of candy to, the other bad children, which goes into, I like them both, but I feel like the movie's better than the book. But I like what he's, how he uses these children to kind of, look at, adolescence, and he's kind of looking at the, the different types of children. Overall, I found it, a nice read. I mean, it's a children's book, and, there's not a lot of depth to it. You found more about, Veruca, how she's just kind of spoiled and wants everything. Violet, they're kind of all spoiled in some ways. They just want, want, take. And here's little Charlie who doesn't have anything, and he's given everything. And, yeah, I thought, I've never seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the film. I've only seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I may, visit the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory film just because I've read the book now. And I can see that Tim Burton was probably taking more from the books, as well as Johnny Depp's character. I could see he was taking from the books. Now looking at it. Some people thought he was being Carol Burnett. Joking. That was Roger Ebert, I believe, that said that. So I thought, I've got a feeling that the book resembled that the Tim Burton's film represents more of the book. So that was that book, and I recommend it. The other book I'm reading is The Silva Mind Control Method by Jose Silva. And Jose Silva is one of the people that really popularized ESP. And it kind of lost its way, and now it's kind of making its way back, thanks to people at the Mind Valley and other places. You know, the Silva, Ultra Silva um, mind, and it's really fascinating stuff. A lot of hypnosis and talking about going from alpha to theta to delta. Most of us spend most of our life in beta, but if you can go to delta, if you can go to alpha, and you're in alpha when you wake up. Whenever you wake up and you're groggy, those first few minutes, you are in alpha. So there's like a countdown that they, teach you. It's a really interesting book. I've almost finished it. I should have it finished by next week, and I'll give a full review on it. But good books all around. And I'm also reading, I've almost finished A Course in Miracles. Oh, I read another book. I completely forgot about this book. Just as I'm, going through my notes right now, I just completely forgot. I finished a book today. I finished the book, where is it? The Accounting Game, Lemonade, which is a fascinating take on business, because it's taking, you're seeing balance sheets and income statements and, cash flow all through the eyes of a child building up a lemonade stand. But what they're doing is they're teaching you business through this simple, basic book. The book is written by Daryl Mullis and Judith Orloff. Really good book. If you want to understand accounting, if you want a basic book that's going to really break down the balance sheet and the income statement and, cash flow, this is the book for you. It's really simple. It's an easy read. It's like 200 pages. You can't go wrong. I recommend it. Go read it. You'll learn a lot about accounting. And when we come back, I'm going to talk about Silver Linings Playbook. Silver Linings Playbook, directed by David O. Russell. It stars Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro, Jackie Weaver, Chris Tucker, Anupam Kamar, and Julia Stiles. And the music is done by Danny Elfman. So let's get into this film. This is a really interesting film because it's really talking about, somebody with a problem overcoming it. Somebody almost with an addiction to something. Living in the past, and he has to kind of come through into the future and see what's right in front of him. And it's a nice love story. It's in some ways you could call it a romantic comedy. In some ways it's a dark comedy. I don't know where to, it's a drama. It has a lot of different elements. I love David O. Russell films, as I've talked about on previous episodes. I talked about I Heart Huckabees, and that's one of my favorite films. And this is like no other. And this was kind of like the second film in the David O. Russell Renaissance, which began with The Fighter. People, started to, take him seriously again. Bradley Cooper is terrific in this. This is probably, the film that really got everybody to look at him and go, oh, he's a serious actor. And Jennifer Lawrence, she ended up winning the Oscar. A lot of people had, I can't remember her name. Zero Dark 30, Jessica Chastain. She was a lot of people thought she was going to win for that, and Jennifer Lawrence came in and, just won all the awards, and she became an Oscar winner at a very young age. Jackie Weaver's great in this. This is one of Robert De Niro's best later roles, from the current Robert De Niro. Chris Tucker kind of finds his way into it. Julia Stiles. Anupam, I think I've seen him before. He comes right up. He is, he's an Indian actor. Wow. He was the former chairman of the Film and Television Institute of India. Wow. A lot of stuff. He's in Bend It Like Beckham. So he's a great actor. He plays Bradley Cooper's therapist in the film. And it's just a really, somebody who I suffered with anxiety and, I wouldn't say depression, but minor depression at time. So I knew, kind of saw what he was going through at times. And, there was a period where I did have, I never took Prozac or Klonopin or anything, but, I knew of those things. Um, as a child, I had, medicine when I would go to school. So I knew that feeling. And Jennifer Lawrence, plays older in this, and she does a great job in it. And Bradley Cooper, really good. He really makes you feel that anxiety of these things that just hit you, and you just can't control yourself, and you just don't know what you're doing. I never had it to that level. I had moments of things like that, nothing uncontrollable, but so I could identify with the character. And I thought, they did a great job of, really balancing it out. I mean, they have a point where, he keeps hearing this song when he was, when he found his wife cheating with cheating on him with another guy, and somebody that he knew, and this song is playing. And so he always thinks this song is playing. And the film really begins with him coming out of, a rehabilitation facility. He had to go to rehab to, fix himself. And now he's kind of put here by court orders. The family kind of has to take care of him, and he has to find his way. And, it's a nice romantic drama, comedy, black comedy, whatever you want to call it. And it's really good. Really good, really heartwarming, touching scenes. It's a film I think a lot of people can relate to, and it was a film that came out in 2013, I believe is when did this movie come out? 2012. The Oscars that it was at was the 2013. That's why I kind of see it as a 2013 film, but it's not necessarily a 2013 film. But this was great. I thought this was a much better film than The Fighter. Julia Stiles is great. I love seeing her as a mom. And, when she holds the child, you can tell she's got those motherly-like instincts to it. This is such a great film. Danny Elfman does the music in it. And this is one of his most understated, scores, because it's not that, that uppity stuff that he has in Beetlejuice and Batman and, with Spider-Man, and those crescendos and those long, sounds that he brings. It's very understated, and he does it perfectly. I mean, it's amazing. I still can't believe that, that's actually Danny Elfman doing Silver Linings Playbook, because, I mean, he usually does scores that are very, it's a Danny Elfman score when you hear it. A lot of good, 70s music in there. It's a great film. I cannot recommend this film enough. Now I'm going to talk about spoilers, so 5 seconds. So one of my favorite scenes in this film is when he's at the diner with Jennifer Lawrence, and he's kind of like, I don't want my wife to think I'm with you. And she gets all upset, and she's like, oh, you think I'm crazier than you? And she has this big flip out thing and moment, and and it leads to him, chasing her out there, and he keeps hearing that song, and, he kind of goes into, and she feels bad for him and helps him, come back to it. Another favorite part of it is when he's saying he's got to read Lord of the Flies, and she gives the synopsis of it. It's really funny the way she gives the synopsis. And my favorite part is the end, when they do the dance, and then he comes after her, and he reads her the letter. He wants her to read the letter, and she thinks he's gonna humiliate her, and she finally reads it, and she's taken aback because he says, I know it was you that wrote the letter. And he says, I'm sorry it took me so long to realize this. Thank you. I love you. and it's such a beautiful moment, and it feels so real, and I'm crying just thinking about it. I can't get enough of this movie, and it's kind of been on Showtime, so I was like, this is a good time to talk about it. And Robert De Niro has a great scene with Bradley Cooper where he says, I wish I could have, I probably should have spent more time with you. And there's a point where he has a freak out, and he accidentally hits his mother, and Robert De Niro's character is hitting him in the face. He hit his wife, and it's interesting the way he just does it. And Robert De Niro plays this character who's like really all into like, you got to be sitting here. If you're not sitting here, we're not going to get bad luck. And he's all about the luck stuff. But the ending is one of my favorites, and that dance scene, I mean, which I think it inspired Thinking Out Loud, the Ed Sheeran music video. And it's a beautiful film, and I can't recommend it enough. And when we come back, I will talk about The Nevers, or well, I just watched the first episode of The Nevers, and I've got to say I really enjoyed it. I felt it had a lot of X-Men meets Doctor Who. It had that League of Extraordinary Gentlemen twist to it. You had the steampunk world, and it's an interesting thing. I didn't realize this till after it was over and the credits rolled, that it was directed and written by Joss Whedon. Now, I know he's become a character that people don't want anything to do with, but, what can you do? I mean, he did a very good job here. And I thought the acting was superb. You have a lot of great British actors in here, and, they've mixed a lot of interesting tropes that I wouldn't have necessarily thought would work. Has a little bit of that Watchmen feel to it in some ways that HBO kind of brought in. But I really enjoyed this episode. I came into it, cold, not knowing much of anything. All I knew is that it was like girls who are superheroes. But what it is more like is that, in England, in the Victorian times, that era, everybody dressed proper. There's these people called the Touched, and they're kind of trying to keep this away from the main public. And you have all these different factions that are all like coming to grips with how to deal with this situation. There's an arrogant lord. I mean, a lot of... and this episode really just introduces the characters. We see one character who's kind of taken, and we're kind of seeing it through her eyes. So let's get into spoilers here. Okay, so spoilers. Yeah, they find this one woman who they take, and there's like this other group that's trying to take, and they have this big chase scene, and then she, shoots out of there like in an in a motorized, steampunk kind of vehicle. And they're all doing this all in front of everybody. So it's kind of interesting. It's like, are they aware of this? Or are they not aware of this? And they bring this girl who they think is the devil because she's can't speak English. She can understand English. She can't speak English. And so they all want this girl. And she's brought to this like kind of group, which is kind of like the Professor Xavier type of group, where they've got all these different people with all these strange defects. There's this one little girl who's like about 20 feet tall. And then we see at the beginning of the episode, one of the main girls, she is able to see the future, and she sees a glimpse into the future, and they have to go there. And that ends up in this chase for this woman who they're trying to get to her group, and she gets kidnapped. And then the ending, I was kind of confused. I didn't know if this was a flashback and this is how they discovered their powers. I couldn't tell, but they put a lot of things on the table, and it's a really good show. And I can't recommend it enough. It's really good. If you like, superheroes and you want that kind of twist and you want to see more of a realistic take on it, it's there because it's got HBO, so you get the blood and you've got the nudity and all the things that Disney won't do. I'm really intrigued to see what episode 2 is like. I think I'm going to go through this whole series. I know I'm a little late to the party, but I think this is a really good show, and the acting is superb. Got all these great British actors. So that's about all I have to say. I'm going to take probably more notes. I kind of just stumbled upon this. I was like, do I want to review this? Do I not want to review this? And now watching it, I'm like, yes, I do want to review this. So I'm going to talk more about it next week when I review episode 2. But you got a lot of that, Jack the Ripper vibe, characters, and it's really fun. And I think it's a really good thing. It's a really good show that showcases the empowerment of women without it being overly annoying in some ways. I know some people are going to hate it, but I thoroughly enjoyed the show, and as I said before, I can't recommend it enough. And when we come back, I will talk about politics. Let's talk a little bit about politics. So, a lot to unpack. We had the Biden speech. He addressed, Congress. And, well, he made a lot of nice things. He said, he wants to lower prescription drugs and, he wants to do paid family leave and all these things. And those were all great. And then he says, we want to, we want to become more of a green country, and we want to be buy America, America, for America, buy America, make America products. But, I don't know if I really believe any of this stuff. I mean, it would be nice. These are all nice sound bites, and they sound great. But is he actually going to do them? A lot of people are saying that he's already backing off on the prescription drugs thing. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's just one thing he did do was he used an executive order to make it $15 minimum wage for companies, and I like that. That's a step in the right direction. But I don't know. Some people are saying, have we seen the best of Biden? I hope not, because they've got one more year. They've got a year and a half to prove to people that they should stay in power. Otherwise, one of the House, either the House or the Senate, will revert to the Republican control. And that check and balance will happen, and nothing will get done, because that's how they do checks and balances. We're just not going to do anything with you. So they better start using the power soon and showing people that they deserve to be still in power, or it's just not going to end well with them. AOC had an interview where she said that Biden has exceeded the expectations that progressives had. Well, a lot of progressives had no expectations, so I guess you could say he exceeded them. But this is my problem. The left has no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to lead. They don't know how to be, somebody else did another interview. Cory Bush did an interview and said, they said, well, you vote alone at the end of the day. Okay, well, that's not how you win. That's not how the Tea Party worked. If you want to win, you need to vote as a bloc. That's how you control power. And they're not doing it, and they just seem to not understand it, and the left has no leader. I'm hoping Nina Turner wins in May. I think it's in May, the runoff election, and she gets into Congress, and she gets into the House, and she starts, being the people that says, you know what, I don't care if corporate media likes me. I'm going to tell you the truth, because these left people don't care. They care way too much about what CNN, MSNBC people think about them. They care too much about what the New York Times thinks about them. You can't be a revolutionary and care what they think about you, because they are the opposite of what we want. And that's what needs to happen. And they need to start fighting for things like, a public plan, $2,000 checks, $15 minimum wage. These are the things that we're not getting done. The other thing that happened is George Bush said who he voted for. He wrote in Condoleezza Rice. Yeah. Why even vote? That's not going to win. But it's like, it's my conscience. It's so lame. But I thought Biden gave a good speech, but it's just, I don't know if he's going to do any of this stuff. It'd be nice if he does do this stuff, but we'll have to see. The other thing that came out is that shrooms, mushrooms, the drug has been shown to ease anxiety and cure depression. So these are the drugs we should be looking at, the drugs that they completely tried to outlaw and ban and say to have no place in anything. Oh, wow, those are the drugs that actually might work. When Nixon took office, they stopped all looking at psychedelic drugs. Now we need to look back at these things because there's things to be found here. And these are much better than the prescription drugs we have. And that's probably why they don't want anyone to know about it, because they're like, ooh, the good stuff. We can't let them know about the good stuff. So that's interesting. I would like to see, I think all drugs should be legalized, and we should be looking at them. And they should not be a crime to get high. It's just dumb. I mean, there are people that have problems with drugs, but we need to look at that as what it is. It's a problem, not as a place to put people in jail. And that seems to be always the order. Let's put people in jail. I think we should, there some studies have shown that, psychedelics can cure the brain trauma that football players are suffering from concussions. There's a lot of things to be done there. We need to do. That's something we actually do need to do more study on. But we also need to look at it in a positive light. The other thing that's happening is Twitch looks like they're getting the corporate media's going after them. They don't like that they're making money and that they're a free platform, and they want all control. Corporate media wants to control all the platforms. And hopefully Twitch, since it's owned by Jeff Bezos, will not let that happen. So let's end with a quote. Let's end on a positive side. I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't regret that. But I knew the one thing I might regret is not trying. Now, a lot of people are going to hate this guy, but this is a good quote, and I had to use it. Not as good as the Oprah one, but this was a good quote. This is from Jeff Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon. I know a lot of us hate him. Some of us like him. We all use his products, though. We all use Amazon. Most of us do. I don't know. Some might not use Amazon, and I don't know those people. Amazon has become the be-all, end-all because it really works. And if you want to beat Amazon, you need to come up with something better, not just complain about it and say we need to make this illegal. No, you need to come up with a better product, and that's how you compete with him. But I digress. Here we go. I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't regret that, but I knew the one thing I might regret is not trying. And isn't that so true? It's not that I failed. It's if I didn't try. And I think all of us can learn something from that. We can all try to be better. And with that, I think that about does it. I want to say thank you for listening, as always. And as always, you can find me at Justin Yance. And I will see you next time on the DMF.